welcome back to Kapow. I'm Sonya, and for today's special we'll be... Wait, Al, what are we looking at for today's special?
Don't look at me, it was Ray's turn to come up with a thing.
Oh, hang on, that'll be right now. Hang on. Okay, sorry guys, one sec.
How about a King's Comics special where we shoot the whole episode at King's Comics? He does realise we shoot almost every episode here, right?
Yeah, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. So, Al, what are we looking at for our King's Comics special?
Okay. Well, we're reviewing issue 1s of Midnight Society, The Black Lake, All-Star Section 8, and Starve.
We're also reviewing the trade paperback of Bodies from Vertigo.
Our old pal Jill will be joining me to talk about some comic-to-TV adaptations.
And Ray and I will be looking at Kekkai Sensen.
You know, we didn't always used to do specials all the time. We could have just done this as a regular episode.
Like a regular episode special?
No, just a regular episode.
Regular episode special! Woo!
One of the things that I love about comics is that there's always a bumper crop of new titles coming out, so there's always something new you can jump into. So we've grabbed 3 new comic titles completely at random after careful consideration, so that we can show you 3 titles you can get into while they're still warm from the oven.
But don't put them in the oven.
No, that's an idiom.
Midnight Society, The Black Lake, is the somewhat top-heavy title of a new creator-owned miniseries published by Dark Horse. Drew Edward Johnson handles story and art, while Lizzie John contributes colours.
This first issue is split into 2 time periods, beginning in the past with 2 steampunkish adventurers searching for evidence of pixies, while the second half of the comic gets to the story proper and introduces our main character, Matilda Finn, a young woman on her way to investigate a disappearance in the infamous Loch Ness.
I want to say first that I think the artwork is excellent in this comic. The settings are great, the faces are expressive and individual, and John's colours are apt for every scene. As far as the story though, there are a few stumbles. Mostly I felt this was really heavy in exposition. I wanted to be shown a lot of this stuff, not told it.
Well, I didn't find that was so much of a problem myself, but there were certainly pacing issues. The first half for me was completely on point, just perfectly balanced. But then you get to the second half, where it's in the present day, and things pretty much slowed down to a crawl. Effectively, very little happens for the second half of this comic, apart from an unprompted flashback to Matilda's mysterious origins, and I was left without much impulse to continue. Which is a shame, considering how well it starts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a borrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this one a borrow as well. I'll probably revisit this series once all 4 issues are collected into a trade. I think it will read better that way. Next up, we have a title from the new DCU lineup, All-Star Section 8, written by Garth Ennis with art by John McCree.
Section 8 will be familiar to any fans of Ennis's cult series Hitman. They're a group of Z-list superheroes led by an alcoholic mess known as Six-Pack. Retired and on the wagon for years after his team was almost all killed, Six-Pack's alter ego Sidney Speck accidentally gets a taste of booze and launches straight back into slightly blurry action.
Six-Pack immediately starts putting together a new Section 8 to combat an unspecified threat, and well, there's honestly not much more to the plot than that. It's more of a humorous deconstruction of superhero stories rather than a story in itself, which is familiar ground for Ennis, but for me, it just felt a little weak. The final 6 pages, featuring Batman trying to get out of a parking ticket, was a particularly low note. I'm giving this one a berry.
It should be said that McCree packs a lot into the artwork. There are plenty of references and in-jokes for comic fans, particularly the homage to some of Batman's most recognisable poses. But in the end, this one left me cold as well. More than anything, looking at the Section 8 lineup, I just wish that Dial H never got cancelled.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this one a berry.
Also, and this is more of a general gripe, 13 pages of adverts were peppered through this comic, most of them for other DC titles. Now, I'm sorry, but that's a trend that needs to stop.
It's pretty infuriating.
Yeah.
Now we come finally to a new title from Image. Starve is written by Brian Wood, with art by Danielle Jagel and colours by Dave Stewart. Set in a dystopian future where global warming has plunged America's coastal areas underwater and a market crash has plunged 99% of the population into poverty, one of the few businesses that has survived and even thrived is reality TV.
Wood brings his gift for character creation to bear with our hero Gavin Cruikshank, the creator of a cooking show called Starve, who has gone off the reservation for the last 3 years, vanishing into the sweltering slums of Southeast Asia. But Gavin's sabbatical is at an end, and the network want him back to finish his run on Starve. But it is not the same show he left behind.
No, it isn't. I agree with you about the character creation. Gavin is suitably rough around the edges for a TV chef, but with enough charm to keep you on his side. Every character, in fact, is sharply represented in the artwork as well as the dialogue. There's a really good creative team here.
Absolutely. Giselle's scratchy, messy style is perfect for this story, and Stuart knows just how to make the images pop with his choice of palette. I really enjoyed this comic, and I'm giving it a buy.
Yeah, look, I'm going to agree with you once again. We don't really see where this story is ultimately going in this first issue, but there's such solid and succinct character development that it's a pleasure just getting to know the players. This is a strong start for an intriguing new series. I'm going to give it a buy as well.
Awesome. So that's just 3 of the new titles hitting the shelves. Let us know in the comments what upcoming series you're really interested in. Hey Ray.
Hey Sonya. Hey guys.
So Blood Blockade Battlefront, which is the Western title. Bit of a cheesy title, really.
It is. The original is called Kekkai Sensen, which translates to Bloodline Battlefront. And it's based on a shonen manga by Yatsuhiro Naitao, and he's the creator of Trigun. We follow a young photographer named Leonardo Watch, who obtained the all-seeing eyes at the cost of his sister's eyesight. He moves to the city to join an organisation known as Libra to fight several types of monster. You see, 3 years ago, a gateway between Earth and the beyond opened over the city of New York. In one terrible night, New York was destroyed and rebuilt, trapping New Yorkers and extra-dimensional creatures alike in an impenetrable bubble. Now, someone is threatening to breach the bubble and release its horrors upon the rest of the world, but the mysterious super agents of Libra are ready to fight them. And this anime series, produced by Bones, is currently streaming week to week through Funimation.
Now, even though the territory is kind of familiar, the environment is surprisingly fresh. The melting pot of the two worlds provides intriguing looking characters and unique cityscapes.
There's a lot of layers. The environs are highly detailed, and yes, a huge variety of alien creations on par with Space Dandy. The world, or city, is huge and multifaceted. You have the light and shade of the greater metropolis, highly secured governmental areas, the impact site, and there's a vast array of layers to the netherworld. These environmental shifts keep the story fresh, but at times can be a little too much to take in.
Yeah, I'm still a little confused by this story. There is a rough through line of sorts, but after 10 episodes there's still gaps in the plot. Don't withhold information to build tension.
Yeah, it's not as cohesive as I'd have liked.
Yeah.
It wasn't until episode 8 or so that I started thinking, why not take all of this information and put it at the start? You know, throw it all on the table and then let's just move on. Don't be afraid of that convention, because I quite like the dismantled episodic story structure, but from episode to episode there's just too many questions that are sort of still hanging in the air. Now onto character. Most of the characters are excellent. Not only those of Libra, but the peripheral and opposing characters as well. I already have my favourites.
And they're well designed. The individual abilities are unique when activated, and their personalities are varied enough to allow individuality beyond a different hairstyle or eye colour. There are a lot of characters though. Some of them have awesome powers, but we've hardly seen them, and others have simply come and gone. And there's only 12 episodes to season 1.
I know. I wonder if they were worried as to whether the series was going to go to a second season or not, because they crammed a lot of information in there. Almost too much, in my opinion. They could have simplified it. Anyway, what did you think about the animation and the action though, Sonya?
Loved it.
Yes.
It's bold and the action looks amazing. The animation can move at a frenetic pace at times though.
Yeah, but as much as I enjoy that, I kind of miss some of that detail, particularly with the special moves. They go to a lot of trouble to signpost them, but they can feel a bit insignificant if you don't actually see what it is that they're doing.
I've really loved this series so far. It's got such a good humour to it as well.
It does.
Look, originally I was only going to give this one a borrow because, you know, I've mentioned a few kind of issues with it, but I can really see the potential of this becoming a long-running series, so that is going to edge it over to a buy.
Yes, well, it is a lot of fun, and the soundtrack is eclectic, but it's ambitious. It's really enjoyable to listen to. The characters are well voiced. I guess my main criticism is of connectivity, and that is of the story and of the characters.
Sure.
I think long term though, as you said, Kekkai Sensen is going to be huge on the anime scene and the cosplay scene as well. Just right now it's a bit of a sensory and information overload, so I'm just gonna back off a little bit and give it a borrow.
Awesome.
comic to TV crossovers are huge at the moment. As much so, if not more so, than the movies, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah,
They've been
definitely.
huge. And since they're such a big thing, we think it's high time that we spend a bit of time here at Kapow talking about them. So we've invited resident TV expert / junkie Jill to come along and have a bit of a chat with us about these comic to TV crossovers. Today we're going to start with The Flash and Supergirl. Now, Flash, having finished its first season,
Yes.
Jill, what did we think?
I thought it was fantastic. There's a great diversity in the characters, the story is fun, and you don't need to be a comic reader to like this show.
So you think it's going to be a good thing for bringing in non-fans?
Oh, definitely. Like, it has a crime genre about it, so I think people that are into shows like that are going to be interested, and the superhero element is just an added bonus, so... Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's got that, Monster of the Week thing in there.
Yes.
Who is your favourite villain from this? I think because
my
Flash
God,
is so
okay.
defined by his villains. There's a lot of great ones in this first
There
season.
is.
Who's your favourite?
Okay, well, the Grodd episode was incredible, but I have to say, just for the cheese factor, Captain Cold.
Oh, yes. No, he did a great job, though, didn't he?
He
He was
did,
really
yeah.
owning the
He
fact that...
owned the cold puns, oh my god.
Oh, he did. He wasn't afraid of them. And
No.
you gotta respect that.
And he wasn't afraid of hamming it up. Like, he was
Absolutely.
pretty a serious actor in Prison Break.
Yep.
This is a completely different role for
Oh,
him, but
very
it's
much
so
so.
much. You can tell he's having fun.
Yeah, and he's doing the crossover into, what is it, Heroes of
Legends of
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's it.
another series.
Yes, so he's going to be a lead in that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Flash has really successfully brought in a new fan base, but I think it's kind of siphoned off a bit of that from Arrow, from having
Yes.
started off there. What did you think of that as a ploy to start off the series?
I think it was clever. I was watching Arrow, so when the Flash appeared, Barry Allen, you knew what was coming, and it's like, new characters! So to carry that over into its own series, you didn't need the whole starting point at the start of the series to say, this is how he became the Flash, because
Yeah.
it was already covered.
Yeah.
But I think the backstories for everyone were covered really concisely in the Flash, so there wasn't a lot of need for an in-depth story.
And we've had the crossovers as well since then with
Yes,
Arrow,
yes.
which has been a nice thing to sort of cross-feed the fans in between the two
Definitely.
shows.
And it's not just between Arrow and Flash themselves as the characters, but also their teammates and the B characters, I suppose you call
Sure,
them.
yeah, they go
and
for a
you get a lot
visit,
of
yeah.
camaraderie between the two shows. So
There is,
that's
and there's a
fun.
nice feeling about it when you've got
Yeah.
some of them, like you've got Gotham. It's got quite a dark feel to it.
Yes.
The Flash is a nice counterpoint to that. When you say it's got a
Definitely.
lighter tone.
It brightens the Arrow universe as well, which is quite a bit gritty. But seeing the characters build relationships between the two series is a lot of fun too.
Yeah. Now, wrapping up the all-important final question.
Yes.
What is your rating for this series? Although I think I already know.
I give it a buy.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it has its low points. I guess some of the character development gets a little bit lost along the way, but overall, you don't need to be a comic fan. It's really accessible and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's a big buy from me as well. I've loved every minute of it, yelled at every little Easter egg, like, oh, Max Mercury, things like that. It just got me
Yes.
very excited. So, yeah, it's great for fans, great for non-fans to
Yeah.
become fans. Now, going from a show that's finished its first season to a show that's not going to be joining us until November, although the first episode has leaked in much the same way as the first episode of Flash leaked months before it actually aired. So, Supergirl, what did we think of the first episode?
Okay, well, I think a lot of people have probably seen the extended trailer, the 6-minute long thing, and have written it off as a Devil Wears Prada meets Supergirl ripoff.
Yeah.
So I can...
That is the impression it gives. Yeah.
I can safely say that after watching the entire of the first episode, there is enough punching that it saves itself.
That's a relief.
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't rest back too heavily on that sort of bumping into things at
Yeah.
work, dropping coffee, that
It's
sort
not
of...
the bumbling Clark Kent of Supergirls.
Okay.
It's a slice of life TV series based around a woman and her world. But then they bring in the Supergirl, they bring in the action, and it all goes from there. It's a lot of fun.
Okay. So a lot of these things, they live or die on one thing, and that's really how the powers are represented. Because
Right.
if that looks naff, you're just not going to buy
Yeah.
any of it. So how's the CG in this one?
Right, well, we've come a long way since Smallville and from Lois and Clark, so
Oh, a
I
hell of a
can
long way.
tell you that the flying scenes are not fist out in front flying.
I would have liked that for nostalgia, just a little bit of that.
It's more real world, so it's believable.
right.
And I think the special effects, and especially when it comes to the strength and the eye powers and stuff like that, it's more believable.
Okay, so has she started off with her full set of powers, or are we going to see a slow growth?
She has her powers, but she doesn't use them every day. This is not the person that she is.
Right.
There's a turnaround point, which you've probably seen in the trailer, and from there, that's when everything kicks in. And then she's a natural.
Okay, cool. That's an interesting way of taking it, rather than with Flash we saw him slowly getting a handle on his powers.
Right, yeah.
So it's interesting they're just sort of starting her off with
Yeah.
a full quiver.
It's not a fresh thing for her. She's been on Earth for, I think, about 10 years now, so she's
grown up with
she's
her powers
adapted
at this
to the
point.
powers, yeah.
Okay. Now, we said earlier with Flash, one of the most important elements is the cast of characters.
Right.
How's that looking in Supergirl?
Good. There's, pivotal characters. There's probably about 5 of them that are central to the story. So there's going to be a lot of development there. And I think the addition of Jimmy Olsen is a little bit of a...
Which is a nice link up.
Yeah, it's going to bring
the Big Boy
Superman
Scout.
fans
Yeah.
over, and yeah, I think it's going to be a good bridge.
Okay, excellent. Now, I can't really speak too much on this one because I haven't actually seen the first episode myself,
Yeah.
but rating-wise, what would you go with?
I'm going to give it a borrow. While I did enjoy the first episode, I'll definitely back for the second one. Some people may not be that into it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I urge people to check it out, see
Yeah,
what
give
you
it a
think,
try.
or wait till November if you like, so you don't have the frustration of wanting to continue
Yeah,
and then getting on.
exactly.
We will be back with our next episode. We'll hopefully have you back talking about
Yes,
some more TV.
I'd love to come back.
Hopefully about how angry I am they cancelled Constantine. And thank you for coming once again.
Thank you, Al. See ya.
There's nothing quite like a good murder mystery, is there? The discovery of the body, the gathering of the evidence, the brilliant deduction that leads to the killer's capture, and the explanation of everything at the end.
And then we have Bodies, an 8-part miniseries published by Vertigo, which is a murder mystery, but follows none of those conventions. Well, apart from discovering the body. But even that's not what you expect.
This mind-bending story is written by Cy Spencer, with art by Dean Ormston, Phil Winslade, Megan Hetrick, Tula Latay, and with colours by Lee Lockridge. Why the 4 artists? Because this story takes place over 4 different time periods with 4 different detectives all trying to solve a murder. The twist is it's all the same murder.
And that's not the last twist by a long shot. Edmund Hillinghead is a police inspector in 1890, the days of Jack the Ripper, struggling to do his job while hiding a dark secret. Charles Whiteman is an escapee from the Polish ghettos in 1940, now a crooked cop profiting from the war. Shahara Hassan is a detective sergeant in 2014, a Muslim officer dealing with daily race riots. And finally, we have a young woman in 2050 known only as Maplewood.
But how do they all connect? How can they all be investigating the same murder? What is the deal with the repeated phrases and symbols across the different eras, and who is that guy with the one eye? These are the questions you'll be asking yourself while you read this book, and quite possibly after you've finished. And look, all I can tell you is there are no easy answers.
It is a head-scratcher, isn't it? You've got themes of civil unrest, bigotry, cultism, you've got messianic imagery, fatalism versus self-determination, but what you don't get is an explanation, or not a complete one at least. I've read this book through twice, and it does make more sense the second time, but there are still plenty of questions. My question for you is, did you enjoy it?
Look, you know what? Just like all the other questions about bodies, it's a really hard one to answer. The artwork is solid throughout, although Tula Latay's artwork for 2050 London is probably the standout for me, matching best with Spencer's twisted narrative. Look, I really enjoyed this story, but I can't help but shake this feeling of being dissatisfied with how it all pulled together in the end. Not last episode of Lost dissatisfied, but still feeling a little bit shortchanged. I think I'm going to give this one a borrow.
Well, for me, the standout artwork was by Megan Hetrick for the present-day time period London, although my favourite storyline was with Whiteman in 1940, the bad cop who almost ruins everything.
But in the end, his actions don't matter, do they? I mean, that's another thing that kind of bugged me about this. All the decisions that these detectives made didn't seem to have any impact on the outcome. I felt like they were just chess pieces being moved around.
See, whereas I felt like they were being tested and given the opportunity to rise to the occasion. And in the end, I think the fact that we're still dissecting and arguing about the point of this book is what made it so good.
True.
I'm going to give it a buy. I recommend you check this one out, but only if you're willing to put the work in.
Alright, give it to me again. I'm gonna try again.
Okay. Oh, just right here.
Yeah.
Okay, can I?
Shh. Well, that's all we have time for in our regular episode special.
Just a regular episode.
If you can think of any other comics that are no way related by theme, let us know in the comments.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I may have ordered some t-shirts that say not a special for our next episode.
You have a problem.
Regular special!